Who is David Beckham?
Well, millions of people know the name. They know the face from those massive billboards in Times Square or, Tokyo.
Right.
They know the iconic haircuts, the fashion, the whole celebrity lifestyle. But if you look past the flash of the cameras, very few people truly know the remarkable, really gritty story behind his success.
Yeah, and that's the big question, right? Was David Beckham simply born with this extraordinary talent?
Exactly.
How did a young, quiet boy from a working-class neighborhood in England become one of the most famous and honestly powerful athletes in the entire world?
It's incredible.
What extreme challenges, brutal criticisms, and quiet sacrifices shaped his journey? And most importantly, what real lessons can we learn from his unbelievable life?
His journey is just so fascinating because, well, it is not just a sports story. It's a masterclass in human resilience, psychological survival, and, as we'll see later, brilliant business strategy.
I am so excited to explore this with you today. And before we go deeper, I want to welcome you. Yes, you, the person listening right now. Welcome to this deep dive.
We are so glad you're joining us.
We really are. And this audio experience is designed to be a fascinating exploration of an icon. But it is also a fun, completely natural way for you to improve your English.
Exactly. As you listen to our conversation today, you will naturally improve your English listening skills.
Okay.
You'll hear and learn very useful vocabulary just by paying attention to the context of our story.
Right. Context is everything.
It is. You will get comfortable understanding natural American English conversations, and that will ultimately help you improve your pronunciation and build real confidence when you speak.
We want this to be accessible and relaxing for you. So we're going to speak in slow, clear American English. We will use slightly shorter sentences.
Yeah, keeping it simple.
We will take natural pauses to let ideas settle in your mind. And we will occasionally repeat important concepts so you never feel lost. We want you to just sit back, relax, and let the story pull you in.
Our core mission today is to explore the truly cinematic story of Beckham's life. We're pulling together fantastic details from a mountain of sources. We have deep dive articles, documentary transcripts, and really intimate interviews.
So much great material.
Oh, tons of it. And we are using all of this material to uncover powerful lessons about discipline, perseverance, leadership, resilience, true professionalism, and the power of believing in your own vision.
Let's get right into it. We have to start long before the fame. Long before the multi-million-dollar contracts and the flash bulbs. We start in East London in a place called Leytonstone.
Leytonstone. It was a very grounded, hard-working area. The Beckham family, well, they lived a normal, modest life. There was one thing they were absolutely fanatical about.
Oh, yeah.
His parents lived and breathed Manchester United football. I mean, they loved the team with a passion that bordered on a religion.
It's crazy how deep it went.
Right. To give you an idea of just how deeply this ran, David's middle name is Robert. His parents gave him that middle name as a direct tribute to Sir Bobby Charlton. Yeah, one of the greatest legends in Manchester United history.
That detail really sets the stage. Football wasn't just a hobby in that house. It was essentially woven into his DNA from the moment he was born.
Exactly.
But simply loving a sport does not make you a global icon. His father, Ted Beckham, he realized this early on, didn't he?
He absolutely did. Ted was incredibly strict. He didn't just want his son to play for fun. He demanded absolute perfection.
Right.
Ted instituted this rigid, really exhausting regime of daily discipline. He recognized that natural talent is fragile. You have to build a strong foundation.
So how do they do that?
Well, Ted focused heavily on technical skills. He would take young David to the local park, and they would practice the exact same kick for hours.
Just one kick.
Just one kick over and over. David would strike the ball, retrieve it, and strike it again. He was practicing the mechanics of bending the ball, hitting it in a very specific way so it would curve beautifully through the air.
Until the sun went down.
Exactly. Until it was too dark to see.
I want to stop for a second and connect this back to you, our listener. Think about Beckham's repetitive childhood practice out in that park and compare it to your own journey of learning a new language right now.
That's a great comparison.
Because David Beckham was not magically born knowing how to perfectly curve a football around a wall of defenders, just like nobody is born knowing how to speak a second language effortlessly.
That is a wonderful connection to make. The mechanics of learning, they're universal.
It requires daily, relentless practice. Sometimes it is incredibly exhausting. You have to practice the same vocabulary words, the same difficult grammar rules over and over again, just like David practiced that same kick with his father.
Right.
But that exhaustion, that frustrating daily repetition, that is exactly what builds the invisible foundation for your future success.
And we see that foundation pay off for David very early. By 1986, when he was just 11 years old, he entered a prestigious national skills competition.
11 years old. That's so young.
It is. This was the Sir Bobby Charlton Soccer Schools competition. He had to perform specific, technical football challenges under intense pressure. And this 11-year-old boy won the entire national competition.
Winning that competition was the spark, right? It caught the attention of the right people.
Definitely.
And eventually, it opened the door to the place his family had always dreamed of, the Manchester United Academy. But he did not walk into that academy alone.
No, he didn't. He walked into a unique environment that would actually change football history. He became part of an incredible generation of young players, known today as the famous Class of '92.
We are talking about guys like Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt, and Ryan Giggs.
Exactly. These were highly talented, fiercely competitive teenagers all growing up together in the same intense system. They won the FA Youth Cup together in 1992.
Which was a huge achievement.
Massive. But more importantly, they forged a brotherhood. They learned to trust each other blindly on the pitch, and they became lifelong friends off the pitch.
The manager of Manchester United at the time, Sir Alex Ferguson, he saw this golden generation coming up. By the time Beckham was 17, he made his first team debut.
Just a kid, really.
Just a kid. And he made a serious impact almost immediately. He scored a crucial goal in his Champions League debut against Galatasaray.
But here is where it gets interesting. Sir Alex Ferguson was a master psychologist. He saw this rising star, this young man with a handsome face and brilliant technical skills.
Right.
But Sir Alex knew that technical skill was not enough to survive in the English Premier League. You needed to be mentally and physically tough. You needed to know how to take a hit.
So Sir Alex makes a highly calculated move. In the 1994 to 1995 season, instead of keeping David protected at Manchester United, he sends him away.
Yeah, he sends him out on loan to a team called Preston North End.
Preston North End was playing in the 4th tier of English football. This was a massive drop in glamour.
Oh, huge. 4th tier football is famously physical, aggressive, and just harsh. The pitches are muddy, the weather is cold and wet.
It's not the big leagues.
Not at all. The veteran players in that lower league, they wanted to physically intimidate this young, flashy kid from Manchester United. They wanted to tackle him hard.
Sir Alex essentially threw him into the deep end of the pool to see if he could swim. And David didn't just survive, he thrived.
He really did.
He showed an immense level of professionalism. He took the physical hits, he got back up, and he just focused on his game. He proved he had true grit.
That short loan spell fundamentally changed him. When he returned to Manchester United, he was no longer just a talented academy kid. He was a hardened professional ready to fight for a starting position.
And he quickly established himself as a first-choice player. Which brings us to the opening day of the 1996 season. Manchester United is playing against Wimbledon.
This is a huge moment.
It is the exact moment David Beckham transforms from a great football player into a global superstar.
The mechanics of this moment are legendary.
Okay.
Beckham is standing in his own half of the field. He is roughly 50 yards away from the opponent's goal.
That is half the length of the pitch.
Right. He looks up and notices the Wimbledon goalkeeper has wandered far away from his net. The goalie is trying to act as a sweeper keeper, staying high up the field.
It is a split-second observation. Most players would just pass the ball short, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Play it safe. But David trusts those thousands of hours he spent in the park with his dad. He strikes the ball perfectly.
It is a stunning 50-yard lob. The ball sails high through the air in a massive arc. It flies over the desperately running goalkeeper, and it drops beautifully right into the back of the net.
The stadium just erupts.
That single, breathtaking goal served as his global introduction. His professional career is skyrocketing. But right as his football fame peaks, his personal life collides with global pop culture in a way the world had never seen.
Oh, this is such a fascinating cultural moment.
I love the origin story of this romance, especially how it is framed in the recent documentaries. David is just hanging out, watching television with his teammate, Gary Neville.
You're watching a music video featuring the Spice Girls. And at that time, they were arguably the biggest pop group on the planet.
David is watching the screen. He points directly at Victoria Adams, and he makes a calm, confident declaration. He tells Gary Neville that he is going to marry the posh one in the black dress.
It sounds like a script from a Hollywood movie.
It really does.
But they actually did meet shortly after, and they instantly fell in love. However, their union created an unprecedented cultural explosion. You had one of the best footballers in the world combining forces with a massive global pop star.
It wasn't just sports news anymore. It was front-page news everywhere. The media sources described this period as a literal ticking time bomb of attention.
Ticking time bomb is the perfect way to put it.
The paparazzi hounded their every single move. Their faces sold millions of magazines.
When you combine the dizzying heights of his early athletic success with this sudden, suffocating global exposure, a very dangerous dynamic emerges.
Yeah.
The British public and the media built him up onto an impossibly high pedestal. But when you are elevated that high, the expectations become deeply unrealistic. Every single move you make is scrutinized.
And that suffocating pressure creates the perfect storm for the absolute darkest, most traumatic chapter of his life. We have to talk about the 1998 FIFA World Cup.
The 1998 World Cup in France was supposed to be David Beckham's crowning achievement on the international stage. England is playing a crucial, highly emotional knockout match against their fierce rivals, Argentina.
The tension on the pitch is thick. You can feel the heat of the rivalry. During the match, Beckham is fouled hard behind by the Argentine player, Diego Simeone.
It was a rough tackle.
Very rough. Beckham is lying face down on the grass, and in a split second of pure frustration, he lightly flicks his leg up and kicks the back of Simeone's leg.
It was barely a tap, really. It wasn't a violent strike, but Simeone, being a very clever, experienced player, falls backward dramatically. He makes it look like a devastating blow.
And it worked.
It worked perfectly. The referee sees the theatrical fall, pulls out the red card, and sends Beckham off the pitch.
England is suddenly forced to play this massive game with only 10 men. They fight hard, but eventually they lose in a penalty shootout. They are eliminated from the World Cup. The dream is over.
And naturally, people are upset.
Right. Now, usually when a team loses, a manager protects his players. But that is not what happened here.
No, it is not. The England manager, Glenn Hoddle, went straight into the post-match press conference. And instead of taking collective responsibility as a team, he publicly pointed the finger directly at his 23-year-old player.
Wow.
He explicitly blamed David Beckham for the loss on national television.
It is stunning to watch that footage today. Hoddle essentially served Beckham up to a hostile press. The documentary sources show just how deeply this wounded his family.
Oh, they were devastated.
His parents noted that Sir Alex Ferguson would never have done something so destructive. Sir Alex always protected his players from the media.
Because Hoddle essentially gave the media permission to attack, the backlash was apocalyptic. The British tabloid newspapers went on a vicious campaign. They printed headlines literally demanding his head.
The public reaction was terrifying. This wasn't just people booing at a stadium. This crossed the line into physical danger. People literally hung a burning effigy, a fake doll of David, from a rope outside a London pub.
It's hard to even imagine.
When he tried to walk down the street, angry crowds spat at him.
It was a level of national hatred that is hard to comprehend. The security sources from Manchester United revealed that people were actually mailing bullets to the training ground, specifically addressed to David Beckham.
Over a football match. So, wait, how does a young man possibly process that level of national hatred? The psychological toll had to be devastating.
It broke him down completely. The intimate documentary footage reveals that David fell into a clinical depression. He suffered from severe anxiety.
I can't blame him.
Right. He was forced into intense domestic isolation because he simply could not step outside his front door without being verbally assaulted.
There is a detail from the sources that really haunts me. He was so isolated and so desperate just to feel normal that he would sneak out to a local Chinese restaurant in Manchester.
Just to get away.
Yeah, he would sit alone in a quiet corner just to eat a meal away from the cameras and the screaming crowds.
That kind of profound isolation fundamentally rewires a person's brain. When we look at this from a psychological perspective, severe public trauma often forces a person to seek control wherever they can find it.
That makes total sense.
When the entire outside world feels dangerous, chaotic, and uncontrollable, the human mind attempts to create a hyper-controlled private environment just to feel safe.
And we see the exact manifestation of that in his private life. The sources reveal that David developed OCD, obsessive-compulsive disorder. Even today, long after the trauma of 1998, we see him displaying these deeply ingrained coping mechanisms.
The footage is striking. Late at night, long after Victoria and their children have gone to bed, David is awake. He's meticulously scrubbing the kitchen counters. He is wiping down the glass appliances until there is not a single fingerprint left.
He even walks around the house hand-trimming the little wicks inside the candles.
Yes.
So they all look perfectly uniform and neat. Everything has to be in perfectly straight lines.
It is a classic trauma response. By ensuring the candles are perfectly trimmed and the counters are spotless, his brain is essentially signaling to his nervous system. The world outside might hate you, but inside this house, you have absolute control. You are safe here.
He also found completely unexpected hobbies to help him process his thoughts. He took up beekeeping.
Beekeeping, who would have thought?
I know. He built hives and started making his own honey at his country home. There's actually a really funny, lighthearted moment in the sources where he is arguing with Victoria about what to name his homemade honey. He wanted to call it Lego.
It is a funny detail, but even that desire to name it Lego speaks to his psychological need for simple, structured building blocks. He needed to rebuild his entire emotional foundation brick by brick.
He had to put his mind back together before he could put his career back together. But once he found that inner focus, what happened next is one for the history books. Let's move into the year 1999. This is the redemption arc.
Beckham decided that the only way to silence the hatred was to let his football speak for him. He channeled every ounce of that anxiety, trauma, and anger into an unbelievable level of athletic focus.
We see this incredible journey chronicled in the Prime Video documentary series called 99. It documents how Manchester United achieved something everyone thought was completely impossible: the treble.
To understand the magnitude of this, winning a treble means a single football club wins the domestic Premier League, the domestic FA Cup, and the massive European Champions League, all in one single season.
That's unheard of.
It requires a level of consistency and stamina that breaks most teams.
And what is completely insane is that Manchester United secured all three of those massive trophies within a single frantic 10-day period in May of 1999.
10 days.
The adrenaline must have been completely overwhelming.
Beckham was the engine of that team. His crossing ability, his deadly free kicks, and his endless stamina on the right side of the midfield drove them forward. But the 99 documentary highlights just how fragile this success was.
How so?
The internal pressure was so heavy that season that Sir Alex Ferguson, the legendary manager, actually threatened to resign.
I found that detail shocking. Sir Alex was the absolute patriarch of the club. Why would he threaten to walk away right on the edge of history?
Well, the club's former chairman revealed that he had a meeting with Sir Alex. He was attempting to motivate Sir Alex by pushing him harder. But the tactic completely backfired. Sir Alex felt undermined and actually submitted a formal resignation.
The players must have panicked.
They were completely shocked. Sir Alex withdrew the resignation very quickly, but it illustrates just how toxic and pressurized the environment was behind the scenes. They were walking on a tightrope, but they held their nerve and they won everything.
And through that historic victory, David Beckham found his ultimate redemption. The English public, who had burned him in effigy just months before, slowly began to cheer for him again.
It's amazing how fast things can change.
And then the absolute pinnacle of redemption arrives. In the year 2000, David Beckham is officially named the captain of the England national team.
It is one of the greatest full-circle moments in sports history. The young man who was blamed for ruining the country's World Cup dreams was now wearing the captain's armband, leading the nation.
Incredible.
He took that responsibility incredibly seriously, holding the captaincy for nearly 6 years and eventually earning 115 appearances or caps for his country.
I want you, the listener, to stop and think about your own life for a moment. Think about a time you failed terribly or a time you were harshly criticized. If David Beckham had not experienced the devastating trauma and public hatred of 1998, would he have ever developed the sheer psychological armor required to push his team to the impossible treble in 1999?
It is a profound question. Very often, the deepest, most painful failures in our lives act as the exact catalyst we need to build the strength for our greatest victories. The pain forged his focus.
I completely agree. But just when the story feels like a perfect fairy tale at Manchester United, the foundation starts to crack. We have to look at the painful process of him leaving his boyhood home.
By the year 2003, the father-son dynamic between David Beckham and Sir Alex Ferguson was rapidly deteriorating. Sir Alex was a manager who demanded absolute control and focus from his players.
But David was no longer just a football player.
Right. He was a global brand.
Sir Alex felt the celebrity lifestyle, the fashion shoots, the pop star wife, the changing haircuts was becoming a massive distraction. And the tension finally boiled over in the locker room, leading to the infamous boot incident.
Manchester United had just suffered a frustrating loss. Sir Alex was furious in the dressing room. He was yelling at the players, and in a moment of pure rage, he kicked a football boot that was lying on the floor.
And that shoe flew across the room and struck David Beckham right above his eye, cutting his face open.
Blood everywhere.
Now, Sir Alex maintained it was a freak accident, but the symbolism was unavoidable. It felt like a physical breaking of their trust.
To make matters worse, the sources point out that the assistant coach at the time, Carlos Queiroz, was actively working against Beckham.
What was he doing?
Queiroz was bad-mouthing David to Sir Alex, complaining about his tactical discipline and whispering that Davy was a problem.
The environment became completely toxic for him. David realized he had to leave the only professional club he had ever loved. So in 2003, he makes a massive transfer to Real Madrid in Spain.
He arrives in Madrid to join the Galacticos. Real Madrid had a policy of buying the absolute biggest, most glamorous stars in world football, players like Zidane, Ronaldo, and Figo. And Beckham was the ultimate Galactico.
But it wasn't an easy ride. The Spanish press was brutal, and the team struggled to find tactical balance with so many attacking superstars on the field. At one point, the manager, Fabio Capello, actually froze Beckham out of the team completely. He refused to let him play.
Most superstars would have thrown a tantrum, demanded a transfer, or just refused to practice. But this is where Beckham's true character shines. He reverted to that working-class Leytonstone discipline.
Back to the park with his dad.
Exactly. He put his head down, trained harder than anyone else on the pitch, and simply forced Capello to play him again through sheer effort.
He wins back his starting position, and in his final season in 2007, he helps lead Real Madrid to a dramatic La Liga championship victory. He leaves Europe on a massive high note. But what he does next absolutely stuns the global sports community.
Nobody saw this coming.
Nobody. In 2007, he leaves the highest level of European football and signs a contract with the LA Galaxy in America's Major League Soccer.
The sports media thought he had lost his mind. He was only 32 years old. He clearly still had the physical ability to play in the Champions League. Why on earth would he go to America where soccer was considered a niche, lower-tier sport?
Because David Beckham is not just an athlete, he is a visionary businessman. To understand this move, we have to look at the Matt Haycock's Wealth Blueprint source, which details his strategy called Own the Upside.
This strategy is absolutely brilliant, so let's break down the mechanics of this deal.
When Beckham agreed to join the LA Galaxy, he actually took a massive pay cut regarding his base salary. Real Madrid was paying him an enormous amount of guaranteed money. The Galaxy could not match that base salary.
But Beckham didn't care about the base salary, because he demanded an unprecedented clause in his MLS contract.
The famous clause.
The contract stated that whenever he decided to retire from playing, he would have the legal right to purchase a brand new MLS expansion franchise for a fixed price of exactly $25 million.
In 2007, $25 million was roughly the standard price for an MLS team. But Beckham was playing a long game. He understood his own cultural gravity.
He definitely did.
He knew that by coming to America, he would bring global media attention, new sponsors, and massive crowds. He knew he was going to personally inflate the value of the entire league.
So he essentially realized, if I am going to make this league wildly successful, I want to own the permanent rights to that success.
Precisely. If we look at the financial architecture of this deal, it perfectly mirrors a Silicon Valley investment strategy. In the tech world, smart early employees often take a lower base salary in exchange for stock options because they believe the company's value will explode. Beckham realized that athletic fame is finite. Your knees eventually give out, but equity owning a piece of the actual infrastructure that is forever.
In addition to the franchise clause, he negotiated a percentage of all team revenue. He took a cut of every ticket sold, every hot dog eaten at the stadium, and every single jersey purchased. Over his 5 years in LA, he reportedly earned over $250 million.
That is just incredible business sense.
And he didn't just succeed in the bank. He silenced his sporting critics on the pitch, leading the Galaxy to 2 MLS Cup championships in 2011 and 2012.
He single-handedly shifted the American soccer landscape. But even while he was building this financial empire in Los Angeles, his pure love for the game and his desperate desire to play for his country never faded.
No, it didn't. The MLS has a long off-season during the winter. Most players use that time to rest on a beach. But Beckham was terrified of losing his fitness and losing his spot on the England national team.
So he orchestrates loan agreements to go back to Europe during his vacations. He plays for the legendary Italian club AC Milan in 2009 and 2010.
It just shows his sheer desperation to keep running, to keep competing. Finally, his incredible playing career comes to a close in 2013 with a brief but impactful stint at Paris Saint-Germain in France.
His time at PSG was short, but it perfectly summarized his character. He brought intense professionalism to the locker room. And in a remarkable gesture, he decided to donate his entire PSG salary, which amounted to roughly 4 million euros, directly to a French children's charity.
Every single penny of his contract went to help kids. It is a beautiful way to hang up his boots. But when the football stopped, the Beckham brand only accelerated. He transitioned seamlessly into his life outside of the sport.
He leveraged his global fame to become a massive fashion icon and a global brand ambassador for companies around the world. But he also dedicated a huge portion of his life to philanthropy.
Yes, his charity work is extensive.
He has served as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador for many years, focusing on protecting vulnerable children.
And he combined his love of football with his charity work in this incredible project called For the Love of the Game. He literally traveled around the globe playing a football match on all 7 continents to raise awareness.
All 7.
All 7. He even played a match on the freezing ice of Antarctica.
That project highlighted his global reach. But it is equally important to look at how he honors his local roots. The Disney Plus series Save Our Squad is a deeply moving example of this.
I love that series.
Yeah.
In Save Our Squad, David goes right back to the beginning. He returns to East London, back to the grassroots Echo Premier League, where he played as a little boy.
Wait.
He volunteers to mentor a struggling under-14 team called the Westward Boys.
The team is in terrible shape. They are losing almost every game and facing relegation, which means they are about to be kicked out of their league. David steps in, not just as a famous face, but as an active coach.
He is out there in the rain, teaching these young boys the exact same lessons about discipline, technical focus, and self-belief that his strict father Ted taught him on those very same pitches 30 years earlier. It proves he never lost touch with his working-class identity.
So we see the charity work, the mentorship, the global ambassadorship, but we have to circle back to the billion-dollar business strategy. Because that $25 million contract clause we discussed earlier, he finally activated it.
Yes. After navigating massive political and logistical hurdles in Florida, he used that clause to birth a brand new football franchise, Inter Miami CF.
He exercised his right to buy the team for $25 million. Today, according to recent Forbes evaluations, Inter Miami is valued at an astonishing $1.35 billion.
That return on investment is almost difficult to comprehend. He turned $25 million into $1.35 billion. And he built the team's culture steadily, year by year. But the absolute crowning achievement of his ownership came in 2023.
Oh, this was huge.
As documented in the Apple TV Plus series, Messi Meets America, David Beckham managed to pull off the impossible. He convinced Lionel Messi, widely considered the greatest player in the history of the sport, to leave Europe and sign with Inter Miami.
Watching the documentary footage of David's reaction when Messi's signing is confirmed is so powerful. You see the raw emotion. His decades-long vision of elevating American soccer to the global stage was completely validated in that single moment.
But his transition from athlete to mogul isn't just limited to sports franchises. Beckham has undergone a fascinating evolution in how he handles media and public relations.
So, wait, by launching his own production company, Studio 99, is he essentially bypassing the traditional journalists who tortured him back in 1998?
Exactly.
Is he becoming his own media conglomerate to ensure nobody can write his history but him? Is that what we are seeing here?
That is exactly what we are seeing. It is brilliant vertical integration. In 1998, he was a passive victim of the tabloid press. They controlled the narrative and they almost destroyed him. Today, through Studio 99, he produces his own content, including the Emmy-winning Netflix series Beckham and the highly anticipated 2025 Victoria Beckham documentary.
He controls the camera, he controls the editing room, he uses a strategy of calculated vulnerability, willingly showing us his painful OCD habits or the tears over the 1998 red card, but he does it strictly on his own terms. He has completely reclaimed his historical legacy.
And that legacy continues to be formalized by the highest institutions. In 2025, he received the ultimate honor, a knighthood from the king, officially becoming Sir David Beckham. The young boy from Leytonstone who was spat on in the streets is now a knight of the realm.
And he is not slowing down. bringing us right up to the present day. In a recent June 2026 interview with Forbes, he spoke passionately about his excitement for the upcoming 2026 FIFA World Cup, which is returning to the United States.
He noted how deeply poetic that is for him. He was actually in America as a wide-eyed young fan when the U.S. last hosted the World Cup back in 1994.
From a kid in the stands in 1994 to the owner of a billion-dollar American franchise welcoming the world in 2026. The scope of that journey is simply staggering.
As we look back over this entire deep dive, the ultimate lessons for us are so clear. David Beckham's story teaches us the true meaning of determination. When you are told you aren't tough enough, you put your head down and work harder.
It teaches us about profound resilience. When you make a terrible mistake on a global stage and you feel entirely broken by criticism, you do not surrender. You focus on your craft, you rebuild your mind, and you force your own redemption.
It demonstrates the value of unshakable professionalism. Whether he was playing on a muddy, freezing pitch in the fourth tier of England or wearing the pure white jersey of Real Madrid, he gave maximum effort. He respected the game.
And it shows us the power of visionary thinking. He didn't just want to be an employee of the sport. He planned for his future, demanded equity, and took total ownership of his brand and his destiny.
But before we finish today, this incredible journey raises one final provocative thought for you to ponder.
We just discussed how athletes like Beckham are now launching their own massive production studios to create their own hit documentaries. They are the directors of their own life stories.
So my question to you is this. As these global icons seize the means of production, are we witnessing the end of objective sports history?
That's a great question.
If the heroes are the ones deciding which footage makes it into the final cut, does controlling your own narrative fundamentally change what the truth actually means?
That is definitely something to think about as you watch these documentaries. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We invite you, the listener, to continue improving your English by watching the next episode of the English podcast Football Legends series.